What was the first proper Google phone? Was it the T-Mobile G1, the very first Android phone? Or the Nexus One, the first with Google in its name? Or the original Pixel back in 2016? I don't think it was any of these. Instead, I think it was this guy, the Pixel 6 Pro. Released to the world towards the end of the COVID era in winter 2021, the 6 Pro is approaching its final year of Android platform updates. And while it'll still get security patches, Android 15 is where this phone will be put out to pasture. So it's a great time to reflect back on this milestone product, a device that's been among my favorites of the past few years, despite its numerous flaws. So there are two major reasons why the Pixel 6 Pro was a big deal in my opinion. The first is software. In Android 12, which landed first on the Pixel 6 series, Google unveiled Material U, its biggest software design overhaul in almost a decade, with bolder typography, new color palettes that matched your choice of wallpaper, and slick fun new animations. It was a bold new direction for a Pixel UI that had started to lean a bit too much on a familiar palette of whites and blues through the late 2010s with Pixels 3, 4, and 5. And this enormous software overhaul was accompanied by the biggest Pixel hardware upgrade ever in terms of both design and internals. The Pixel 6 series introduced the camera bar as a major design element. And the tech inside that camera bar got a serious upgrade too, built around the new 50 megapixel main sensor and in the Pixel 6 Pro, Google's first periscope telephoto lens. Google had briefly flirted with some pretty crummy telephoto cameras in the Pixel 4 series, but this new hardware saw the company leapfrog pretty much everyone in this area besides Samsung. And on the inside, these Pixel phones used Google Silicon for the first time ever. The Google Tensor chipset, built with a helping hand from Samsung, was different from most flagship Android SoCs at the time. It didn't try to catch Apple or even Qualcomm in terms of raw performance, but instead differentiated itself with tensor processing units for accelerated machine learning. Essentially, this was dedicated silicon for the unique Google features in this Google phone. At least that was the theory. The reality was that while Tensor was a pretty big upgrade on the mid-range Snapdragon used in the Pixel 5, it shared a lot of hardware DNA with Samsung's Exynos processors. Those chips didn't have a great reputation for power efficiency or battery life, and unfortunately those were qualities inherited by both Pixel 6 phones. As much heat as these phones got among fans online for their apparently lousy battery life, I don't know, I found them to be pretty much fine during my time using them. Heavy travel days would certainly necessitate packing a power bank, but the Pixel 6 Pro was hardly unique in that respect in 2021. There are plenty of Android flagships that I used at that time that would only just about limp to the end of the day. What the Tensor chip did do though was enable exciting new features like Magic Eraser for getting rid of photo bombers in your pictures, while also providing enough power to run Google's HDR+ algorithms in 4K video for the first time. As of 2024, the competition has now largely caught up with Google's AI editing features, but for the time they were really revolutionary and a real reason to pick a Pixel over the competition. But for me, one of my favorite things about the Pixel 6 Pro was how, for the time, it just nailed everything that I wanted out of an Android phone, while also delivering all of that fun Google secret sauce. You see, most previous Pixels had some form of fatal hardware flaw if you were to compare them to their direct Android competition at the time. The Pixel 1 lacked water resistance and had a small amount of base storage. Pixel 2 series had disappointing, borderline defective screens. Pixel 3 brought lousy battery life and an anemic loadout of RAM. Pixel 4 had that swing and a miss motion sense feature, and the Pixel 5 with its mid-range hardware just wasn't really a true flagship. The Pixel 6 was much more of a confident performance, and finally very close to a compromise-free Pixel experience. Now, you could find some nits to pick though, especially early on in the Pixel 6 Pro's lifespan. Most early complaints with this phone had to do with the fairly buggy state of Android 12 during its first few months. The first couple of major Pixel 6 software updates shipped with numerous bugs, and the first major bug fix release in December 2021 had to be pulled because of a nasty issue causing dropped calls. It wasn't until January 2022, more than 2 months after launch, that the Pixel 6 finally got rock-solid reliable software. Android 12 in general was just in a kind of a rough state around the end of 2021, but once those vital updates arrived, the Pixel 6 found itself in a much better place, and I think had the software launched in this state, then this phone would probably be remembered a lot more fondly by reviewers. The other thing about the Pixel 6 Pro that stands out to me is the cameras. Now, Google had always punched above its weight in photography, but with Pixels 4 and 5, it was being overtaken by the likes of Samsung, Huawei, and Oppo, who used larger sensors. And finally, pairing Google's excellent HDR+ capabilities with beefier hardware in terms of both the SoC and the image sensor made a huge difference. This phone arrived towards the end of the COVID era, and as I started to travel more in 2022, I remember taking a lot more photos with this phone and being really impressed by how that trademark pixel look translated into shots taken with those larger sensors, especially the excellent 4x periscope telephoto. The fire and forget magic and confidence with which I could capture shots on the Pixel 2 and 3 was back with a vengeance in the Pixel 6 Pro. Once again, this was a Google phone that could guarantee great looking stills regardless of lighting conditions, and had the AI-backed smarts to edit them in ways that no other phone at the time could match. The camera in general was a big part of why I enjoyed the Pixel 6 Pro probably more than any previous Pixel. The new main sensor raised the ceiling for the kind of shots you could take with the Pixel, while retaining the point-and-shoot effortlessness that the series is known for. Plus, the new motion feature worked fantastically well with light tracing or fireworks. Really, it seemed like after taking a year off for 2020, Google was able to build a much better flagship Pixel for 2021. This wasn't a phone that skimped on the essentials in the misguided belief that Google Magic could make up for missing hardware. But equally, it wasn't just another high-end Android phone. The Pixel 6 Pro was both. A great high-end phone made better by everything unique that Google could bring to the table. And 6 generations in, backed up by its own silicon, there was an awful lot that Google could bring to the table with the Pixel 6 Pro. Google's Material U interface continues to look fantastic on this big expansive canvas, and just like other Pixels, I appreciate the on-device features like translation inside chat apps and real tone for more accurate skin tones in shots of people of color. Another uniquely Google feature here that no other manufacturer was really talking about at the time. I spent a bunch of time with the Pixel 6 Pro in 2021 and 22, and it's been a fun nostalgic trip to revisit on the latest Android 15 beta over the past few weeks. This milestone Pixel still doesn't look too out of place in 2024, even though there are one or two design cues starting to show a little age. I definitely prefer the modern interpretation of the camera bar around back with its cleaner construction and lack of plastic joints in the 8 Pro. And the curved display and larger lower bezel here stand out as slightly old hat design cues. Display technology has also come a long way, and the Pixel 8 Pro easily beats its distant relative under bright daylight in terms of visibility. Meanwhile, biometrically speaking, the early optical fingerprint scanner under display here feels noticeably slower than anything I'm used to using today. No surprise, I guess this was one of many reviewers' pet peeves with this phone back in 2021. So it took 6 generations to arrive at this definition of the Google phone and why it makes sense. And in the years since the Pixel 6 Pro launch, we've seen the series go from strength to strength, particularly in markets like the US and Japan. 2022 finally brought the arrival of the Pixel Watch after multiple years in development hell, followed by a Pixel tablet that straddles the line between computer and home hub. The past couple of years in particular have really seen the brand dig itself out from the hole it found itself in post-Pixel 4, with some really unique and hype-worthy products across multiple categories. And the future for the Pixel line seems to have Google following an even more iPhone-like product strategy. A flatter design awaits for Google's 2024 Pixels if the rumors are to be believed. We'll learn more at the Pixel 9 launch event in mid-August, which promises an even bigger AI focus than ever. And the Pixel 10 should finally bring Google ever closer to chip parity with Apple, with a 100% Google-designed SoC fabricated by leading silicon manufacturer TSMC. If you've used Google's Pixel phones over the years, and especially if one of them was a Pixel 6 Pro, then be sure to hit the comments and let us know how you've gotten on with them. Stick around and subscribe for more retro content like this, but for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.